Rasa kita juga baik
kita sekarang berada di apa gitu hari berapa nih hari ini? Hari 2, 7 hari bulan Desember 2021. Dan untuk pengetahuan kamu orang, hari ini saya ada seorang tetamu istimewa yang datang bersama kita orang. Dia sempat meluangkan masa walaupun dia punya schedule adalah sangat-sangat ketat, dan beliau adalah Chief Executive Officer ataupun CEO untuk Pos Malaysia Berhad, dan nama dia adalah Encik Charles Brewer, dan dia punya kepakaran adalah dalam bidang logistik dan juga postal service, dan beliau berharap dapat mengukuhkan servis untuk postage lah kan di Malaysia, dan dalam masa yang sama menjadikannya satu syarikat yang efisien di Malaysia juga. Dan sebelum itu, thank you so much for being here today despite your very very busy schedule.
Kopi Vosion.
Kopi.
That's my French version.
Oh yeah. Kopi Vosion. Oh, boleh juga.
So that's very good. But Salamat Patang as well to all your listeners. Delighted to be here.
How are you today?
I've never been happier.
Okay.
Well, rarely have I been happy. A couple of times in my life, but seeing you as an international singer for the first time, a mega star is making my morning.
Berhabis.
I'm so happy.
Well, thank you again for being here today. And I heard your schedule is like very very busy. You've got something after this.
I have some moments in the day, but for you, anything.
Okay, so we're gonna make it very swift and smooth. Yeah. So before we begin, okay, maybe the Sabahan people, dorang tidak kenal lah kan, siapa ini, who is this guy, who is Charles Brewer, dan kenapa tiba-tiba ada orang putih datang di Kupi-Kupi FM, dia bilang. So you might want to introduce yourself to all our listeners in Sabah.
Sure.
Dan saya mau kasih tau kamu orang, dia sangat-sangat happy go lucky punya orang nih.
So I try, but so you have to. I apologise profusely to your listeners. My Bahasa is really bad. It's as bad as my diet. I'm going to stick to English today, if you don't mind.
Can.
Otherwise, I might pronounce a few more words in French, which would be a bad thing. Although I can say "okay ba." So
okay ba, boleh.
Latest learned phrase. So that's cool. Anyway, so to your question. And again, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And like I said earlier, I'm the one that's more excited probably than you actually in some respects, because I know that you are an international singer and songwriter. So we may even do some stuff together as Post Malaysia. So let's see how that goes. That'd be fantastic too. Anyway, to your question. So and to your listeners, so my name is Charles, and as we were saying just before I came in, that people refer to me as one of three things, probably more actually, but one of three things that I've heard that I can repeat. One is International Man of Mystery. So I've travelled to 112 countries and counting, and there are about 220 in the world. So that's been really cool. So I've had a lot of opportunity to see some really cool places around the world. That's number one. Number two, my wife's Malaysian, by the way.
Okay.
And so she refers to us, because we've lived all around the world and our kids get moved pretty regularly, and she even sort of stops complaining about it now. So she calls us these sort of modern day gypsies. We just sort of live out of suitcases and carry on moving. And number three, the one I like the most, and I try to live up to this, is the Chief Energy Officer. My responsibility in life and with Post Malaysia and Post Laju is create shining eyes. You know, so I'm here today with Maji, who's the State General Manager for Sabah, who's a fantastic guy, and he's also an energetic person, as you probably already appreciated. I think it's kind of a bit of a trait about Post Malaysia and Post Laju is we have very energized employees, which you have to be to do what we do. But to your question, so English by birth, married to Malaysian, as I mentioned. I have two fantastic children. I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. My son, as I mentioned earlier, sadly for him, looks exactly the same as me. But on the plus side, he's got my character, which helps. It helps a lot, I think, having my character. But my daughter, God bless her, my daughter, who's 14. So for anybody listening who has teenage daughters, my heart goes out to you as well, and my empathy and sympathy goes too. But anyway, to the point, thank goodness she's gorgeous and stunningly good looking like my wife, which is a really cool thing. Imagine if it was the other way around. If she looked like me and my son looked like my wife, that'd be a real problem. So that's kind of me. I'm an Arsenal fan, for any football fans out there. I'm an Arsenal fan by choice. Okay. Yeah, so we lost last night to Everton. rather depressing. Many people have reminded me on, and I've lived in Malaysia 3 times. This is the 3rd time I've lived here. The 2 previous time I was with DHL. So I was with DHL for 35 years. I think most listeners will know DHL, the yellow vans you see dotting around an F1 and Manchester United and other things that they sponsor. So I was with them for a very long time. And then in July, I arrived back in Malaysia, and August 1st took over the reins of the great company that is Post Malaysia, and I'm very proud to do so.
So you're happy to be back in Malaysia?
I'm ecstatic.
Nice. So, my next question would be like, why are you in Sabah today?
Okay. So as I mentioned, I've been back in Malaysia since late July and took over the reins of Post Malaysia since the beginning of August. And a leadership trait I believe in is that you learn more from 5 minutes on the front line than you will do 5 hours in a boardroom at the head office. So I try to spend as much of my time as I can. It's not easy, but I try and spend as much of my time as I can out with our frontline employees, out with our customers, and hearing and listening to what they have to say about what's good and what's not so good about Post Malaysia and Post Malaysia. You'll find out the truth real fast. When I spend 10 minutes I'm going to go and do some deliveries.
You're going to go do some deliveries?
I love doing deliveries.
Okay.
Yeah, and so when you spend a couple of hours with a courier or with a postman doing deliveries, you learn more about the business in those 2 hours than you will do in 2 years in the head office. So it's really, really important to me. So today I'm here for 2 days actually, so doing that, to do some deliveries. I'm going to an orphanage at lunchtime, so I firmly believe in doing good to do well. So we're going to go and I'm going to be Father Christmas today and give some presents to some great kids, which we did yesterday in Sarawak as well, actually. And I get, as much as I may not look like it, I'm quite an emotional bunny. And so don't be surprised if I have a little tear later, because they're fantastic kids, and it breaks my heart that they have the life that they have. But we'll try and cheer them up a little bit today. And then this afternoon doing some sales calls, seeing some customers. And then tomorrow I have a signing ceremony. So
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be a very busy 2 days for you here in Sabah.
Yeah.
So is this a surprise for all the staff in Sabah? Kejutan kah datang? Are they like, is this a surprise visit?
Ya, ini adalah satu kejutan actually. Ini adalah pertama kali dia datang ke Sabah.
Diorang tidak tahu bos besar datang. They don't know the big boss is coming. Hey, good morning.
Don't say big boss actually. Mesti Charles Bro. Only call Charles Bro only. Okay, actually the staff already knew. They are excited actually, and they will go for every touch point. There will be another surprise to him. Just make it this one is a secret, Charles. You will be surprised. Okay, that's it from me.
Okay, then we're gonna head up to the next question.
Sure.
This is about Post Malaysia lah kan. So, what are the latest services that can benefit the people, especially in the interior of Sabah?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, just a bit about sort of Post Malaysia. So Post Malaysia has, again, you know this, and I think most of your listeners do, is a fantastic company. It has more than 200 years. It's been operating for more than 200 years. In fact, it's the oldest company in Malaysia. Which is really, really cool. And we do some really amazing things connecting Malaysians. So to your question, our responsibility, our purpose is to connect Malaysians with things that matter to them. So just recently, for example, we ran a great program. Again, my comms head came up with the idea, and it was a great idea, which is to deliver free mail racket, deliver free letters to every household, 9 million plus across Malaysia, to allow them to write a letter to somebody they love, because COVID's had a huge impact on people's lives. I mean, some really negatively impacts, and business has gone bust, people have lost family members, people haven't seen family members for 2 years. So COVID's been a really, I watch my my life through my kids' eyes, and how their lives have changed over the last 2 years. So I think it's been a really challenging time for a lot of people. So one thing that sort of occurred throughout COVID is that, companies like Post Malaysia, the fire service, police, they become essential, because what we've done is help to keep Malaysians connect. So anyway, to your point, so first and foremost, that's a bit about Post Malaysia. Secondly, I think in terms of Sabah and the market, and linked very much to the COVID situation. So, across Malaysia, you have this huge number of SMEs and MSMEs, small companies, who are trying to come out of COVID and survive. And well, first of all, they were trying to survive through COVID, but now they're trying to come out of COVID and reconnect with their customers and survive and grow again. So, I think a big part of our responsibility for the next few months and going into 2022 for sure is to help those SMEs and MSMEs get back on their feet. So we're running a campaign right now, which is a special price promotion for intra-Sabah, intra-East Malaysia, but also from East Malaysia to Peninsula, from Peninsula to East Malaysia. So again, it's just our way of trying to help SMEs and MSMEs in particular. I mean, it's open to anybody, but it's in particular aimed at them to help them get back on their feet. So that's, I think, a really good example of where Post Malaysia can play their part in helping the Malaysian economy get back on their feet. And we do that with, the Ministry of Finance and MCMC and people like that as well. So it's always in collaboration, and it works pretty well to date.
Nice. So, what are the opportunities that are there in the market that you think Post Malaysia could seize and be successful in, which would also benefit the people in Sabah?
Yeah, so two comments. One is that, the big thing that's changed over the last 5, 6, 7 years has been e-commerce. It's just shopping online. So Velvet, do you shop online? Like, you look like an online shopper.
Well, there's a certain face for an online shopper. Yes, I do. It's to me, it's convenient.
It's convenient.
It is convenient, and you don't have to dress up and go to the mall and buy
find a parking space. Yeah, it's a hassle. Yeah, I was in Australia once and was asked that question: why do people go online? I looked at the interviewer like, are you a Martian? I mean, it's obvious. I mean, to your point, it's convenience, yeah. And through COVID, with shutdown, that's accelerated. So pre-COVID, online shopping as a percentage of retail was around about sort of 10, 12, 15% in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Now that's accelerated to 35%. So, when shops are closed, you had no choice but to order online. And the sort of the real question is how much of that shopping activity will go back to bricks and mortar now that Malaysia's open. So that'll be interesting to see. But anyway, so to your question, the first and foremost for Post Malaysia and for Post Laju is to make sure we're set up for success and to capitalize on that e-commerce revolution. Your shopping habits need to feed into our fantastic network. And by the way, just to my wife is an Olympic online shopper, like gold medalist, a gold medalist. Yeah, I'm not even on the charts. She's a serious.
So what does she shop from? Whatever online portal.
That's a great question. So and again, COVID's changed people's behaviour.
You buy sofa online, you buy everything. Yeah.
Cars, houses, anything you can buy. Virtually anything. But I'll tell you the really interesting one. And again, COVID changed the habits, and I think they've probably changed them for good. So before COVID, you had people that shopped online for certain categories. COVID made people shop more for those categories. So let's say you bought clothes before COVID. During COVID, you bought more clothes because the shops were closed. But then you had the second group, which is people that were buying online for clothes and then bought other categories. So that's a great example of my wife, so to your question. So my wife, pre-COVID, had never, ever bought a cucumber online, or a lettuce, or a tomato, or anything else. And I used to say to her, I don't get it. I don't understand. Why do you buy, cat food, whatever it is, why do you buy everything else online but you won't buy groceries or vegetables or food or whatever? And she said no, she likes to feel them and touch them and blah blah blah. And COVID of course forced her to have to buy those online. She won't go back. Having gone there once, I don't think you'll go back. So I think a lot of those buyers will stay buying those alternate categories. And then the third category is people that had never bought online, if you can believe it. People that had never bought online started buying online, and so you got this new wave of consumers. So to your question, e-commerce and the online wave is a fantastic opportunity for Post Malaysia and Post Laju, no question about it. But there are many other things in terms of what we can do, and talking about Sabah specifically, And in recent times, talking to MCMC, we already have a fantastic coverage. We're the only company, by the way, who goes to every single door in Sabah, in Sarawak, in East Malaysia, in Peninsular Malaysia, every single address.
Really?
Every single one. And no one else does it. And that's a unique...
Even in the interior?
Everywhere. Every single place. And I'll talk about that in a second in terms of how we do it. But that is a fantastic opportunity. And one of the things we're working quite hard on at the moment is how can we develop that sort of community footprint even more so, which I think for East Malaysia and for, as you say, for the interior is even more important. So how do we create access to other important assets for the indigenous, for the interior, and things like, you know, electric charging stations, eventually Wi-Fi banking, digital banking, insurance, you know, all those activities that we take for granted living in this wonderful city, Kota Kinabalu, that perhaps others don't have access to. So I think there's still a lot of upside for us to develop our purpose and our relationship with the local environment even more so.
So, like, for you, you've been in this industry for so long.
I know, and I only look 20 years old. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
very young.
It's good moisturizer and vegetables bought online. Yeah.
Cucumbers, okay. So, what are the major challenges that you have found with Post Malaysia, and what are your plans to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, again, you know, we don't know each other, Velvet, but I'm very honest. Sometimes honesty is a good thing and sometimes not, but I'm very honest. So I think Post Malaysia, and like I said earlier, fantastic company, more than 200 years of experience. We got 20,000 people that look like Margie, who are fantastic people. No, I mean that actually quite seriously, and they are great people. I've met most of them now, and they're really, really great people, really fantastic people who, again, when you order your cucumber online, or whatever it is you order, by the way, maybe take a second just to think about the sort of extra mile and distances that our postmen and couriers have to go. And I was, as an example, I was in Kedah just recently and delivering, and we were delivering in 3 foot of water because it was flooded. Here in Sabah, you had floods only a few months ago, and I remember Maji telling me that crocodiles were going by, which was a bit scary, put me off coming, if I'm honest. So our teams go incredible lengths to make sure they deliver your cucumber or clothes or laptop or whatever it may be, and they deliver the smile in the last mile, day in, day out, and it makes me very, very proud to do what we do. That said, to your question,
Okay.
I think over the last few years we've perhaps lost our way a little bit in terms of focusing on what's really, really important. And for us, that's really 3 things. That is our people, you know, so, you know, I don't want leaders in my business who are very removed from the front line. They need to be on the front line with the employees, with the couriers, with the postmen. They, as I said, they do an amazing job, and we need to be there to support them and make their lives better. Yeah, make sure they're super engaged and super happy in what they do. So that's number 1. Number 2, when you go to a restaurant, what's the most important thing, Velvet? When you go to any restaurant, what's the most important thing?
Service.
Everybody says that, it's not that.
No,
What's
the
most-
food.
The food! Thank you, Velvet. God, trick question. So, yeah, I mean, the food is the most important thing about a restaurant. And in my business, the most important thing is delivering on time. So when you book something with Post Laju or with a letter, that we pick it up, move it and deliver it when we say we're going to do that. And very honestly, when I came in end of July, beginning of August, our service, our next day delivery performance wasn't so fantastic.
Okay, so what did you do?
I sprinkled the brewer pixie dust. No, I mean we just had a very. Maji was there. He runs the operation for Sabra as an example, and we have 13 Majis, if you can believe it, who run all the states. And so we had a daily phone call and we talked about it. We started off with a very honest, open discussion about where are we in terms of service level. And then we talked about who do we want to be as an organisation, and what do our customers expect in terms of service level. And I'm really, really pleased to say, and as of today, and as of about 4 weeks ago actually, now Post Laju has the best service in Malaysia. The fastest, the fastest delivery in Malaysia you can get today is Post Laju. It's fantastic. And so we track, and I get asked, how do you know that? Every single week we track, obviously our own performance, and we track it every day actually, but we also now track the competition's service. So we said we do a mystery shopper, and so we sneakily now know, well, very openly actually, we now know what everybody else's service is like, and we know what our service is like.
So you're actually doing a lot of online shopping.
We do.
Secretly.
Not me personally. Not me personally. But so we track every week, and like I said, I'm really, you know, again, very honestly, Velvet, to go from where we were in August to where we are now in November, or end of November, December now. Sorry. Hello, time warp. In December is unbelievable. What Maji and the operations team have done across every state in Malaysia to position now Post Laju as the best and fastest delivery service is nothing short of incredible. I'm very proud of what they've done. So that's the second thing. I know, a small. How do you do this at the heart? If you could see us, we're doing the, what is it called? We're free.
Sarang ya.
Yeah, that's
It is in Korean
okay.
actually.
So that's the second one. So number one is people, second is service, and the third one is our customers. Yeah, so we're nothing without our customers. And so, you know, I think Post Malaysia and Post Laju was was internal looking. And sometimes, I mean, I've worked in many companies and all around the world, and I've seen this quite a few times before, where people get too interested in their own self-importance and spend more time doing PowerPoints than they do seeing customers. And that's wrong. We need to spend, like I said, equal amount of time on focusing on our people and focusing on our customers and listening to what they're saying. So to give you an example, over the last 4 months, you know, I ask customers, tell me what you think, and if you follow me, you'll see lots of videos and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, so they said they wanted 7 days a week service, so we've done that. So now we deliver 7 days a week. We used to be 5 or 6 days before, now we do 7 days. They said they wanted extended hours and 7 days a week for our retail counters. We've done that. They said they wanted a fast lane for our retail counters, so if you've got 100 parcels and you walk into one of our lovely post office counters and there's like 20 people in front of you, you don't really want to wait. So we introduced an express lane for those parcels. So we've just been, you know, constantly listening, asking, and then addressing the issues one by one. And again, I'm super proud of what the team have done to date.
Well, the amount of changes that you did with the little amount of time when you were here is like quite impressive. You started in August, September, October. Wah, banyak perubahan yang dia bagi sama Pos Malaysia. Jadi, well, my next question would be, Sabah and Sarawak is like really vast. It's bigger than Pos Malaysia.
I learned that yesterday too.
Oh, you
yeah, I didn't know that. No, genuinely, I didn't know that East Malaysia is Sarawak is 90% of the size of Peninsular Malaysia. So with Sabah, it's bigger. Yeah,
there are still like certain places that are unreachable. You know, like because of the terrain, the road, right? So in Sabah itself, there are a lot of districts that do not have Post Laju services. So is there any approach that will be done to meet the needs of the people in Sabah?
Velvet, are you ever wrong in your life?
Always. Never
well,
right.
if I may slightly correct you, so it's a great question, and like I said earlier, the ability for us to service every area and every address is our mandate. But slightly correct you, so we service every single address. Doesn't matter whether it's a kampong or a town or a village or a city or a small house up a mountain. We deliver and pick up from every single location across Malaysia. And just 2 comments to your question, and I'll let Maji talk about one of the areas that we're really super proud of, which is the community postman. So Maji can talk about that in just 1 second, which is a great initiative that we did in partnership with MCMC. And then the other one I just want to touch on before Maji add to it is one of the things we're going to start deploying across East Malaysia is what we call Post Mini. Post Mini is where anybody, any of the listeners who want to do this, by the way, can become an agent for Post Laju and Post Malaysia, and they run their own little business. So if you're in a kampong or if you're in a town and you want to represent us, and you know you're responsible for sales, customer service, operations, delivering, picking up, and you get all the benefits that come with it.
Is it like opening a kiosk.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
that. And they can be. We have frameworks. We use other brand names, but a little bit like McDonald's. So they all look the same, same branding. We provide all of that. And yeah, if any of your listeners would like to come join the party, we'd be delighted to have you. And we're going to be rolling that out very, very shortly. And we're looking for people who want to do that, who are entrepreneurial, who want to grow their business and connect East Malaysia to every other part of the world. So that's Post Mini. That's coming. We already did it. We did a tester a couple of years ago, and now we're going to be rolling it out en masse, which is going to be fantastic.
So, if people are interested to be part of it, is this startup big or small? Like
It can be small or big, whatever you decide. I mean, this is a startup in a sense, yeah. So everybody's, that every logistics company, including Post Malaysia, was a startup at some point. The very first letter that was sent ever from Malaysia was out of Penang going to the UK, and it was sent by a gentleman by the name of Frank. Was the guy who sent the very first letter. Anyway, to the point, in those days we were fundamentally a startup, so everybody starts somewhere, correct? And then hopefully you grow bigger. But yeah, you can run one Post Mini, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to you. So if anybody listening would like to, as I say, take that entrepreneurial trip, drop us a line. You can contact me at charles.brewer@post.com.my. I'll say that again because I got it wrong. charles.brewer@post.com.my. Happy for you to reach out to me and I'll connect with the right people. But before I finish that question, I wanted Manji just to talk about the community postman because it's pretty cool, and you can do it in Bahasa.
Ya, boleh. So kita bersama dengan Maji kan cerita pasal community post.
Postman community. Okey, untuk mengetahui semua, postman community di Sabah ni ada 362 orang. 362 orang yang bergerak di seluruh Sabah. Mereka akan datang ke pejabat pos di mana-mana saja di Sabah, ambil itu item, bawa ke kampung-kampung di mana kampung-kampung itu pelanggan sudah sedia menunggu. Maksudnya postman community ni adalah kita lantik daripada komuniti kampung itu sendiri. Senang. Jadi dia akan datang ambil.
Kena bagi peluang kerja lah.
Ini kita bagi peluang kerja sebenarnya. Diorang memang bergaji.
Bagus.
Setiap bulan dia akan dapat gaji. Jadi diorang ni, contohnya di Pulau Gaya kita ada postman community. Di Pitas, Matunggung kita ada postman community. Di Sempurna, di Kunak, di Tawau, semua tempat branch yang ada, kita ada postman community membawa item sampai ke kampung-kampung, sampai ke rumah orang.
First time saya dengar sebenarnya.
Inilah kita mau bagi tahu sebab inilah caranya untuk kita sebarkan berita ini kepada semua orang bahawa Pos Malaysia boleh hantar barang dari pintu ke pintu di mana jua mereka berada. Sebab kita ada wakil pos community dan pos community yang akan memberi servis kepada mereka.
Wow. Dan juga tidak lama lagi dia bilang ini pos mini kan?
Ya, pos mini sebenarnya.
Ini boleh dikira macam satu peluang untuk mungkin kawan-kawan yang mau buka bisnes
baru, untuk berniaga. Ya, mereka akan jadi wakil pos untuk salah satu stop center untuk barangan-barangan Pos Malaysia.
Iya sih, saya dengar macam bagus pula.
Masuklah kau berniaga kalau kau mau. Kalau kau berminat boleh,
Banyak nih, ini sebenarnya peluang untuk kita orang punya kawan-kawan lah. Mungkin kamu sedang dengarkan dan mungkin ada yang kehilangan kerja kan, they lost their jobs because of the pandemic and they're trying to figure out what am I gonna do after this, apalagi yang saya mau buat. Jadi dengan adanya Post Mini in the future ini, mungkin kamu boleh fikir macam ini adalah satu business venture yang bagus untuk kamu collaborate bersama Pos Malaysia.
Betul.
Bagusnya. I'm still like wow. Okay, so moving on to the next question kan. I want to ask you kan, Charles, what are the targets and key performance indicators that you have to achieve and how are you going to achieve them?
That's a tough question. Anyways, just picking up with the last question, I think you were ending by saying that COVID has meant that many people are perhaps not working or lost their businesses.
Because
so Post Mini
lost their jobs, right?
Yeah.
And some people think like, I'm like 40, like I have, all the job requirements and what they require is like 20 and above and 20 to 30, right? So when you're 40 and you lose your job,
Yeah.
You've got like, wow, you've got nothing to look forward to, man.
Yeah, like I said, COVID has definitely had some huge and negative repercussions. So
Yes.
again, I agree with you. And by the way, if it was 10 to 20, I'd be in trouble, or 20 to 30. So, but anyway, I think don't get too frustrated. And yeah, like I said, if we can help in any way, feel free to reach out. We'll happily have a chat and connect you with the right people to talk about Post Mini. It's a great opportunity. Anyway, so to your question, so I think from a business perspective, we have two immediate opportunities. The first opportunity is to right the ship. So from a profitability perspective, again, like I said earlier, Post Malaysia has not had a particularly stellar last couple of years. So the first objective is to get us back in the black, and that in itself is a major milestone. Not easy. The board often asks me, "So Charles, is it easy?" I said, "Look, when I joined in August, I was looking 10 kilos lighter and 20 years younger. So it's not an easy task. But with people that we like Maggie and the teams we have here, with the people we have, I think we're heading in the right direction. And as I mentioned earlier already, we've corrected the core piece of the business, the service. So I think we're heading in the right direction. So that's objective number one, is to get it back in the black.
Okay.
And we want to do that as quickly as we possibly can. And at the same time as we're doing that, we're sort of running in parallel, thinking about our next sort of 3-5 year strategy for Post Malaysia and Post Luxury. And that has many different opportunities. But as I mentioned earlier on, there are many different facets to it, and I can't share too much because we're a publicly listed company, but like I said, I think one of the opportunities is how we leverage our incredible footprint of, here we have 42 facilities, post offices in Sabah. So how do we leverage those 42 post offices to create even more value for Malaysians? For the Keluarga, I think it's Keluarga. So how do we create even more value for Malaysians? And that can be in the form of many different things, but leveraging that footprint. So anyway, so first and foremost, get back in the black. Second objective through 2022 is to start executing on our 5-year strategy, which you'll hear more about in due course. So that's the sort of business angle. I would say, just if I may, on the softer side, it's to super engage, motivate 20,000 people. When an organisation like Post Malaysia has gone through what it's gone through over the last couple of years, it would be fair to say that the relationship and the trust between the frontline employee and leadership perhaps isn't quite as good as it could have been. So there's a phrase that I like to use, which is, and you have it by the way, is create shining eyes. Yeah, so my responsibility and his responsibility, Majid's responsibility, is to create shining eyes in the people that we meet, and it's so important. We've never met before, Velvet, I don't think. So I had a choice when I came in here today. I can come in here miserable and tired, or I can come in here super happy and pleased to see you. I choose the latter. So with our employees, there's a gentleman just outside here who's one of our couriers, and I met him for the first time just now, and I said, "Hello, how are you? What's your name? Tell me a bit about your life." That's our opportunity. Every time we touch an employee, it's an opportunity to create shining eyes. So to your question, I would say in the very short term is to create shining eyes across 20,000 Post Malaysian fantastic employees.
Wow. So being in your position is not easy. I mean, everyone looks up to you, right? And they have this certain respect towards you. So when they see you, like, "Oh, boss, morning, boss," yeah, like that, right? So how do you manage everyone in Post Malaysia? This is actually a personal question. It's it's not written in the paper, kan. So how do you manage all this, and how do you cope with stress? Because when I look at all your stuff, like, they're so happy, they're not, macam saya nampak si Majid kan macam gembira, macam they like to have you as a boss. So how do you do that? How do you have that kind of relationship with all of your staff? And
not everyone.
Because it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy.
There's a difference in the corporate world, where there's like tangga lah bahkan begitu. So how do you do that? How do you make people feel like they're not really small, and you know, like they become so timid when you're here, like boss, like that.
It's not easy. So leadership is not easy. But I chose that path. That's the path I chose. And by the way, I'm 56, so it's too late to then choose to be a brain surgeon or or a dentist or whatever. I don't think people would trust me with that. So I'm going to carry on doing what I do. But anyway, to your point, and each to their own. So I don't want this to come across as crass or I started at the lowest level in logistics. So I started as a customer service agent 34 years ago, and then I was a courier, and then I was a salesperson. So I've worked in every job virtually, with a few exceptions. I've worked in every job within logistics, and therefore when I meet a courier, chap outside here, for example, I know what he goes through. I've done it. I've been there. And I remember what it was like. And I remember when a boss used to walk into my facility, and if you walk straight past me, I remember how that made me feel. So as much as, and I've tried to live my life this way in work anyway, very consistently, that, there's two things. Try and remember what it was like. Walk in their shoes. Remember what it was like to walk in their shoes. How did you feel on a daily basis? And go back to the point I made earlier. This gentleman outside, the courier, I may not see him again for another 2 years. I hope I do. I'm going to be coming here every quarter, but I may not see him for 2 years. So his memory is going to be of this 5 minutes. So I better make that 5 minutes pretty special to him, and or to her, or whoever it may be. So that's how I kind of live my life. To your question around stress, I don't get stressed.
Oh, really?
I don't get stressed.
Wow.
Very occasionally, and I don't get stressed because, again, I've been through the loop several times, so I know what, if we stick to our plan and we keep executing and doing what we're doing, we're going to get to where we want to get to. That's number one. Number two, I have a great family, so if I do find myself getting stressed, I just go and spend a bit of time with my son or my daughter or both, or my wife, and that levels me pretty fast. The third thing is that, again, some years ago, and I'm not a spiritualist, I'm not a yoga expert, but I did get introduced to mindfulness. And mindfulness, one of the parts of mindfulness is knowing when you are going to get stressed, or what situations put you in stress. So, for example, I'll give you a good example, a real life one. I had a really long day yesterday. I started at 5:30 leaving the house. I had to get on a plane to go to, on one of our planes, to head to Sarawak, and then had a long day there seeing customers, seeing employees. And so by about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I'm tired. And I know I'm tired. I'm not young anymore. I know I'm getting tired. And for me to be on best form the next day, I know I need to get sleep. And so very pleasantly, the SGM who I was with last night said, "Hey, let's go for dinner," and I did, because he'd been gone to a lot of effort to organise a very nice dinner. But I wouldn't do that normally, because I know that's going to put me in a position where I'm tired, and if I'm tired, I'm then going to get stressed, and then I don't perform as well. I don't make that guy's life as good as it could be. So I know what situations or circumstances will put me into what they call it the burnout zone. So what situations put you into the burnout zone? Try and avoid them. And if you get there, different things can cure the burnout zone. Go for a walk, go for a run, swim, go shopping online, buy a cucumber, whatever it may be. Whatever takes you out of that burnout zone. For me, it's music. I listen to music and I feel happy again. So I'm sure it's actually probably not too different for myself. So you recognizing where you are in your day and your journey, and then all of us at various times will go to that burnout zone, knowing you're there, and then doing something about it. It's the right thing. Get out of the office, go for a walk around the block, get a coffee, whatever.
Oh, that's a good tip for everybody.
Free of charge.
Yeah. No wonder you don't look 56.
Thank you. You'll go far.
So, thank you so much for your time. I know you're actually rushing to somewhere today. So, we'd like to take this opportunity to actually thank you, Post Malaysia, for spending some time with us here in Kopi Kopi FM. Termasuklah juga Maj and the whole crew is waiting for you outside. And we hope that, Post, with you being in Post Malaysia, I would take Post Malaysia to another level.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you again for your time. And I hope you enjoy your stay in Sabah. How many days left?
So I'm here till tomorrow. So I leave
Oh, one
tomorrow
day.
afternoon. A couple of days, yeah. So, but I'll be back. I'll be back. I promise, and maybe I'll come and pop in and see you again.
Again? And I heard you've been to Mount Kinabalu already.
I climbed it.
Oh, you climbed
I
it
climbed
up until
it.
the peak.
I did. Yeah. Do you want to hear a funny story about that?
Okay.
So I trained. This is 20 years ago. Yeah, I trained along with 5 or 6 of my colleagues. We trained for months and months. So we climbed Batu Caves and we walked around the Butterfly Park in KL and trained. So we thought we were really competent athletes, and then we got to Kota Kinabalu and started walking up Kota Kinabalu, and we had the guys who carry the rucksacks.
Yeah.
So we paid for that as well. So we cheated and had them carry all of our stuff. So we only had to walk up. But even then, we thought, wow, we're really mountaineers. We're mountain men and women climbing this colossal mountain. And about halfway up, and I was really tired. About halfway up, we took a second or two to sort of admire the view and breathe. And these 2 young girls who must have been, I reckon, about 18 or 19 years old, went past us at pace with rucksacks on, no one helping, in flip-flops. You know what flip-flops are? Does that translate, flip-flops?
Slipper Jepun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had the whole gear on, and they went past us at speed with flip-flops. And when we got to, is it Laban Ratan?
Laban Ratan.
Yeah, we got to Laban Ratan and slept there. I saw the 2 girls and I said, please tell me you've been training for years to do this. They said, no, we just flew in on holiday. I was like, oh.
Oh, were they
So-
locals?
They were young ladies, yeah.
Sabahan?
Sabahan, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's incredible. So it just goes to show you sometimes preparation's a bit wasted. There you go.
True, that's so true. So, okay, terpaksa kita potong cerita kita nih hari ini, dan kami ingin mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada Charles dan juga tim dari Pos Malaysia Berhad sebab sudi datang pikuk-pikuk PFM hari ini. Jarang kita dapat peluang keemasan yang sebegini kan. We don't get this chance, all the time. Like we have to force you in, sit down for an interview. So it's actually, we're very, very honored. And again, I hope you have a great time in Sabah. Thank you so much for your time.
Velvet, is my pleasure. It's an absolute honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Dan kita akan kembali selepas ini, terus setia bersama Kubi Kubi FM. Kita juga ini.